Hello, hello, welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy, I'm your man, Mr. Elton Henry, and today I'm going to talk to you of another film that I believe is slowly getting some recognition given that it came out 8 years ago, and this is a sequel to a film, The Raid 2. And yeah, I'm not going to mention the cast, I'm just going ahead. It's a continuation from the original film, literally a few hours right after the first film, and it centers on Rama who must go undercover to take down a criminal organized family who are having criminal connections with the what is it, the damn, I forgot what criminals, the yakuzas, where he slowly befriends one of the sons of the or the son of the head boss, and soon the son starts to, I would say, try to come up with his own plan of taking over his father's organization. Now, this film sold me for the action sequences, man. I mean, wow. I'm gonna go out and say it. This is one of my favorite and one of the best, in my opinion, martial art films I've ever seen. Second to Danny the Dog. And what I really loved about this was that this was actually a very story driven martial arts movie, and it was one I thought you could kind of dissect, but it was more like instead of focusing on one particular character, which you are focusing on Rama a lot, there was a lot to expand and to try to familiarize with other characters and their situations and their scenarios, where you understand their motives, you understand why they are going through certain things, and it takes a dark turn, to be honest with you. Like, it really does. This is probably one of the goriest martial art films I've ever seen. And the violence and the action scenes get intense after every single battle, bro. This movie was phenomenal. Like, I just gotta tell you, each action scene was beautifully shot, amazing, and it has that kind of like, how the hell did they get that kind of shot on a low budget? I think the budget was like 3 or 4 million, and they had some awesome set pieces, bro. I'm all for low budget martial art or just low budget action films, and they get so creative with the cinematography, with the action, just with the story. It is, and then there's a rise to it where you're able to make films on a low budget, similar to Machete, where all these things you can do, you don't need a big ass freaking budget to craft a good story. I thought the film was perfectly paced, and I actually liked it where they introduced certain characters, but it had something to do with the plot. I mean, like, there's a moment where you're introduced to another character, and you don't see Rama for a bit, but that character has some sort of significance to the plot overall. And I like that they kept adding layers to the story, and it was more about where it came about, where besides Rama's story, when he's trying to bring down this criminal organization, was also this other guy, the son of the head mob, who wants his piece of the puzzle. He want not puzzle, his taste of owning something, being a king or owning a business in the underworld. So you see the lack of respect. You understand his lack of respect, or his I guess I would say his immaturity when it comes to wanting to take over his dad's criminal business. And you see that in certain moments where he becomes more power hungry, thirsty, and jealousy, and becomes just cold. And you see that when he actually betrays his father, you see him become emotionally distant, and you can tell it actually has an impact on him. But the guy, whoever that actor is, he delivered it with such pure raw emotion. You don't need dialogue for that. And I loved how that actor, and it was probably good. It was good casting on Garth Evans' part. The showdown on the character, the action scenes are more intense than the first raid, more brutal, and there's just a lot more added to it. Like, to be honest with you, I don't see a single flaw in this film. I mean, if I just don't. I like this was a very amazing, culture shocking, like one of the best martial art films I've seen. Each action scene feels like it adds more to the story, more intensity, more just like brutalized. Like that final martial art sequence where Rama fights this other guy with the knives builds so much anxiety. And I remember I loved the movie so much I had to bring my father along to watch the film. I can remember seeing him cringing and reaction and just feeling the intense, like the suspense building up to, like, you can see those guys getting tired and just really try to take it down, and you're like really watching like a boxing match to see who will prevail out of this match. I have never had that vibe from any martial art film ever, from anything, where you're just seeing a fight scene happen, and you have a feeling that the hero will make it out somehow, but I didn't feel the intensity. Somehow, Garth Evans was able, and I think it had to do with the camera movement of moving along with the actors and the performances when it comes to these action sequences, to move along with the movements of the actors. It feels so scary and intense, and just you feel the intensity and you feel the struggle. You feel the struggle of these action scenes that that you're rooting for this guy to really make it out. And there are actually moments where you feel like he may not make it out, and actually felt that way, especially after fight scene after fight scene after fight scene in the build up, especially in the third act. And I actually felt like a video game where you're like level one, level two, and level three, and then it felt like that towards the end. I don't have any issues with this movie. I like the interesting characters that Garth Evans developed out of this, even though not a lot of them are given a lot of screen time, given it's still a 2.5 hour film. Um, this has to be a landmark of martial art movies, and you don't hear much about it. In fact, I feel like a lot of martial art movies trying to make it into mainstream, like American cinema, I feel like they don't really have a place here. It feels like it's like they come and go, but there's nothing. I mean, RZA tried to do it with his The Man of the Iron Fist, but nothing really stood out. Um, and honestly, I feel like this film should have stood out to introduce people to martial art films. I mean, this movie's like 8 years ago. Wow, already. I remember I skipped class one day to go watch this movie when it came out. I knew I wasn't gonna make it. I knew I wasn't gonna make it for the showing if I went to class. Uh, and I think there was only one showing. Actually, no, there were two showings. And then to make it for the bus ride back and forth, I had to watch the first showing, and I don't regret it. The Raid 2, have you seen it? Comment below. Let me know what you thought about this. Don't let this go unnoticed. I believe it's on Tubi. Check it out on Tubi. Hurry up and watch it on Tubi before they try to get rid of it. Comment below. Let me know what is your favorite underrated movie, and let me know what do you consider one of the most underrated martial art films you've ever seen. Till next time, guys.